Today on the Pro-Life Podcast, the left is promising a summer of rage, and let's talk about all the reasons they have to be mad at us. Happy Tuesday, Pro-Life family. Oh my gosh. So, normally I've got my little iPad here and I got my notes and things. This list is so dang long, I had to break out the real computer here.
Yes.
I'm happy I've already had my big can of espresso shots and I've got my other cup of coffee here.
So much caffeine.
This list of things to talk about, it's been a spicy couple of weeks since we last chatted here.
That's your favorite word, isn't it?
Spicy. Yeah. It's spicy
Saucy.
because I can say that and it doesn't really offend anyone, but you know what I mean,
right?
You know. So I can. Yes, it's been. We live in spicy times, guys.
Oh my gosh. You thought, you know, we've had the fiery but mostly peaceful summer. We've had some really great summers.
Mostly peaceful.
But ahead of us is the summer of rage.
We're not even trying to hide it anymore.
No, not we. It's the pro-abortion people have a summer of rage plan.
It's true. The other guys. So it's been going around. I've seen it in my social media. The anarchists are promoting this, and we went digging for articles on the Summer of Rage 2022 and found the Women's March is pledging a Summer of Rage. You can sign up on their website to pledge. Apparently.
I actually already did. I signed up. I'm gonna join the Summer of Rage. I'm gonna rage.
Oh, great.
Actually, I can't wait to get the first email and see what it says.
Right. Here's how to rage.
Here's how.
No.
Playbook.
Oh my gosh.
It'll be like Rules for Radicals.
Yeah.
Highly recommend reading that book, by the way. We have to know our enemy. So, yeah.
We've already kicked off the summer of rage, though.
We have. And we joke, but this is a serious thing. There are almost daily now acts of vandalism against churches, pregnancy centers. So Jane's Revenge recently graffitied, if abortions aren't safe, neither are you.
They've graffitied that in multiple places, too. That's their new tagline here.
So church protests. There was, in Houston, St. Bart's Tabernacle was stolen. Holy Rosary vandalized. Where was that?
It's in downtown
Midtown.
Houston.
Yeah.
Midtown Houston, yeah.
Okay.
Technically.
I had to put a comma in here because it said June 7, naked protesters at Lakewood Church.
Yes.
At first I read that in June, 7 naked protesters, but it's no. It
Well, there might have been 7
It was
naked
on
protesters.
June 7th.
There's a video. It's blurred out. If you want to check it out. Yeah, Joel Osteen is a pretty famous pastor.
Right.
He's been criticized for having like really lightweight Christian stuff.
Prosperity gospel.
Right, but actually he's gotten a little better with that. And maybe that's why he's attracting protesters, because they don't like what he's preaching.
He has a very big platform being broadcast to millions of TVs. But the protesters said the reason they targeted his church was because he has such a big platform. They wanted their message to reach those million people.
For them.
Yes. I don't think that it actually worked, because whenever you watch the broadcast, like, you can't tell anyone was there. It might have been like somebody coughing or something like that. That's about the extent that you can tell from the broadcast. But they're invading churches, and there have been additional naked protesters in churches.
There have.
Since then, that's been a couple weeks now since Lakewood got hit.
Started doing their thing.
Yep. So we've got some more. We've got a bunch of church protests. What else do we have?
Pregnancy center vandalism. So we've got 2 pregnancy centers, Washington State, 4 in Portland. Oregon Right to Life got vandalized. Pregnancy center in Long Beach, California. 2 pregnancy centers in Denton, pregnancy center in Austin. Minnesota Citizens Concerned for Life. Iowa Agape Pregnancy Resource Center, Iowa Family Action. There's a note. Michigan, North Carolina, Alabama, Buffalo, New York, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 3 in Maryland, a couple in Virginia, Washington D.C.
Yikes, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's calls for more. I mean, that's the whole point. These people are so mad that Roe is likely about to be overturned. They know they're losing, so I guess they think that their politics no longer work, so they have to just commit violence instead. And that's awful. They're literally encouraging criminal activity and violence. And I don't mean like words are violent. I mean like actual violence, like arson and you know, assassinating Kavanaugh and you know stuff like that.
So that was a thing that was attempted.
Yes. Thank God that guy is in jail now for trying to assassinate Kavanaugh. I mean, come on.
Yeah. On June 8th, so we have this on our website, and it feels like it's been so long since that happened, but
since
it's only
Dobbs
been
leak?
no, this was even after the Dobbs leak. And what you talked about, I'm going to get back to this in a second. Hold on, we're on a tangent. So like you said a second ago, the abortion activists know that they're losing. They know that we are on track to overturn Roe, and they don't have anything else to do. Actually, no, they do have other things to do. They can go back to the states and campaign and use the Democratic Republic process like normal people would do.
Like we did.
Yes, exactly. Instead, they are going to use mob rule against people like us, against an entire branch of government, the Supreme Court, and they're going to try to bully and use these scare tactics into stopping the justices, they hope, from overturning Roe. That if they can scare the justices, even if, like with this attempted murder on Kavanaugh, if they would have pulled that off, that could have thwarted the entire movement of overturning Roe v. Wade. So that's what they're hoping to do. That's what they want to do. And praise God, they haven't succeeded by any means. Like, they haven't taken any lives. They've burned and destroyed a lot of property. They have harassed the Supreme Court justices. From what we can tell, we're still on track to overturn Roe. But we don't know until the decision actually comes out. So anyways, end of tangent. All right, now, an abortion activist was arrested for the attempted murder of Justice Brett Kavanaugh. This poor man. An armed abortion activist was arrested by police on Wednesday, earlier in June, around June 8th, for attempting to murder Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh. He was in Judge Kavanaugh's home neighborhood. He was caught with a bag that had a Glock 17 pistol, ammunition, pepper spray, tactical knife, hammer, screwdriver, crowbar, zip ties, and duct tape, among other gear. He had traveled there from California to Washington, D.C.
That's a long way.
And said that he was there to try to murder Judge Kavanaugh. And I think one of the most shocking things about the story is how deep the mainstream media buried it. On the day after, it was nowhere on the mainstream. Like, you were not on the front page of New York Times or CNN. Like, you had to scroll down very far on any of these mainstream websites to find it. And just think, if the roles had been reversed, if a pro-lifer had done any one of these things, not even just like this entire list that we mentioned, if a pro-lifer had done one of them, it would be everywhere. We would be the right-wing extremists. We are dragged through the mud. But whenever the other side does it, that's fine. That's just fiery but mostly peaceful.
Fiery but mostly peaceful.
Yeah, 2020 was fiery but mostly peaceful. But we're not projecting 2022's summer to be fiery but mostly peaceful. They're just outright saying this will be the summer of rage.
Right.
So buckle up and get ready. We don't fully know what that means. We'll see what actually happens, but the lines are being drawn very clearly. This one, I mean, we all have that awkward, like, you know who you can and can't talk to at Thanksgiving kind of stuff. So this is like this is where the lines are being drawn, and we don't really know anymore who's gonna go rage and to what extent. But when they're saying firebombings and vandalism are the least of what they'll do, that's a little scary.
Yeah. They've said everything that we've seen has been G-rated so far compared to what they're planning to do. And it's, whenever you're really in that position, it is scary. Like, if we think back to when the Texas Heartbeat Act took effect in September, that was, I think for many of us, that was like the toughest point of our careers. Maybe some of for a bunch of us, the scariest point of our lives, because there are people on the internet, thousands of people saying, I want to come attack Texas Right to Life. We had the bomb threats. We had,
just several of our staff, Ledge team, had personal death threats. And it was very personalized and really, really awful and scary. So if you're scared by any of this, I'm sorry. Protect yourself. Protect your family.
Yeah. So there's these other places where the attacks are very heavily concentrated. Like I've said many a times that if we were located in Portland, we would have been possibly murdered a long time ago.
Oh my gosh, that's terrible.
It is. But that's how these attacks are spilling out. So we have to make sure that we stand strong together as a pro-life movement. And a priority for us, too, it has been connecting with some of the other pro-life groups and talking about how we kind of made ourselves cancel-proof, because we've already been through the summer of rage with the Texas Heartbeat Act. The entire ire of the pro-abortion left was directed solely on us.
Yep.
Yeah, for a couple months there. Yeah.
Yes, for a long time where, doors locked every day, phones are turned off, like shutting everything down because...
Officers at the front desk.
Yes, police officers here on site. And because we've been through all of this, and these other pro-life groups are just now getting a taste of that. And so some of them, have reached out and said that they're... trying to make themselves cancel-proof. And so, just sharing what we have learned through all of that. But that's just what happens whenever you stand up for what's right. You're going to draw the ire of those who disagree, those who don't believe in the sanctity of human life. And you said a really great analogy earlier from a pastor recently. Was that
it was a quote, and I'll throw the quote in the notes. Trying to remember exactly. I listened to a lot of podcasts driving around, and we'll talk about why I was driving around in our next segment here this last week. But it was a quote about if you go in a dark room and you hit the light switch and the light doesn't come on, you don't get mad at the dark. You go, what's wrong with the light?
Yeah, why isn't it
we're looking at our culture and we're mad at the dark that it's dark. Like, it's time to turn on the light. It's time to go be the light. Time to take the light to the darkness and drive it out. That's where we're at. We can't sit around being mad at the dark.
Right. The dark is what it is. Like, that is what the dark does, and we shouldn't be surprised whenever we see the summer of rage and we see all of these very broken people trying to hurt others. Even the people who are trying to attack us, we have to minister to our enemies. Christ on the cross forgave his enemies. He didn't wait till after they stopped persecuting him to forgive them. It's while he was being persecuted by them, he forgave them.
Right.
Well, and you look at kind of the protests of the 60s and like kind of the crazy anti-war protests and the free love and the debaucherous culture that was going on. The summer of love. And all of that. And what you really see is a bunch of hurting, broken people looking for something.
Yeah.
And out of that came, when the church caught up, the Jesus movement happened. And a lot of people found God then, found Jesus, and found what they were looking for out of that. And it's a symptom.
The WWJD came, all that came. I remember being a kid having all those bracelets. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, us homeschool kids had a lot of those things. Like,
they were everywhere.
That was cool.
That's right. We were allowed to have.
We were both homeschool kids.
Oh my Were you ever homeschooled?
I was not homeschooled.
You're the only normal one here.
I guess so. No. That's a stretch there. But I appreciate it.
Well, it is interesting to think. Oh, sorry. But yeah, that when you talk about like people are looking for something, it's like they want to join a tribe, right? Everybody wants to be part of family, essentially. And so if you have a bunch of bored, lonely young adults, they're looking for a family, they're looking for a club or a tribe, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to become radicalized. So back like with the Summer of Love and the war protests, or good or bad, right? They want to be part of something. And with this summer, these probably a lot of young women are being radicalized because they might have been pro-choice to begin with, but now their friends are going and doing this thing and protesting at someone's house and buying a gun to try to assassinate someone. And it's terrifying. We saw it with the BLM movement, how easy it was for someone who never really was involved in this sort of mission before is now being radicalized and throwing firebombs at police officers. And so it makes me think, just to go straight back to, this has always been our method. It's like one conversation at a time, one heart at a time. And I wish we could speed it up. I wish we could expedite this process, but you can't. And
we can only talk to so many people. So then we talk to a whole bunch of you guys, and then you go talk to one person at a time.
So we have to have these conversations one-on-one, and that's what, that's how you reach a person's soul. And so, it's so important to have these relationships with these young people and to give them a family, a club, a tribe, a church, a community, so that they won't become radicalized. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
And talk to a young person today.
Yes. That's your goal. That's your assignment. And we didn't even talk about over the weekend, Amy Coney Barrett had protesters outside of her house. And again, it's a handful of women marching around in front of her property, and they had
weird cosplay. Yeah.
Yes, very weird cosplay.
What were they wearing?
They had white, dressed in all white, and then on the crotch of their white pants, they had red blood.
That's so awful.
Obviously, every time. And then they're carrying around baby dolls, like mangled up baby dolls. And I don't exactly know what their point is, because I think in doing that, they acknowledge that this is a child's life that when they have an abortion. So
I think it's the whole sentiment of we know it's a life, but we don't care.
Right.
Like my right trumps their right. Because I've definitely met a lot of people at college campuses, because that's what I mostly do for Texas Right to Life. I talk to college students all day, and they're like, I don't care. Sure, it's a life. Who cares? You know, it doesn't matter their life, but they're not a person yet. That's their main talking point. It doesn't matter if it's alive; it's not a person yet. So they might that might be exactly why they're carrying around these baby dolls with red paint on them, and it's kind of like their version of sticking it to the man. You know, it's really sad.
Yeah, and it's because they're targeting Amy Coney Barrett. Whenever she was being first confirmed in the Senate confirmation hearings for a lower court, not the Supreme Court yet. Dianne Feinstein said, "The dogma lives loudly within you." And she meant that as a bad thing. Like, I'm very concerned because you're a very religious person. And it was funny because a lot of people in the Christian world would say, like, yes, like the dogma lives loudly within me. And they were excited about it. And I remember hearing that and I was like, I have to step up my game. I want the dogma to live loudly in me.
Me too.
Notorious ACB.
Yeah. So
I'm not loud enough, apparently.
Obviously. So if you're ever in a Senate confirmation hearing, your goal is to get a senator to say the dogma lives loudly within you.
Hashtag goals.
Yes. And we hope that Amy Coney Barrett will stay true to those convictions and end up voting to overturn Roe. Again, we do not have the final opinion yet. And
we are hours to days, maybe
now. Any minute.
Well,
right.
Very soon.
Yes.
It could be
So the
Tuesday or Thursday. And then what about next week? It could be...
Basically, every week-ish, the Supreme Court will announce, okay, these days we're going to release opinions. They don't have a set schedule, at least not one that's available publicly. They just say, like, okay, Tuesday and Thursday, we're going to release some opinions. And so then everybody tunes into the Supreme Court website and it's like, refresh, waiting for the to see what opinions have come out that day. Usually this happens around 9 a.m. This starts around 9 a.m. Central Time and then ends around 10 a.m. Central Time. So just between that, everybody's sitting at their computers waiting. you don't have to be one of those people who sits at your computer waiting, because we are those people. So if you text pro-life to 40237,
there's your plug.
Yes, you'll be notified. We will alert you so you don't have to sit and go refresh every Tuesday and Thursday this week. Last week it was a couple of different days. So the opinion is going to come out, though, at the end of their term. There's not a set date of when their term ends, but they don't have too many opinions left. I think it's about 16-ish. And so they have this week a couple of days. Then probably within the next couple of weeks, they'll get all of their opinions out. And then the summer of rage, I guess, will ensue. Yeah, yes.
Okay. Well, we've talked about how everybody's big mad. Let's talk about why they're big mad after these important pieces of information.
Save the date for Boots on the Ground. It's an awesome pro-life conference coming up January 28th and 29th. Come to Austin, Texas with us to march to the Capitol to celebrate the end of Roe v. Wade, to commemorate Roe v. Wade, and to learn from expert pro-life speakers on how to keep Texas pro-life forever. Come to Austin with us and hear from Ryan Baumberger, our keynote speaker who shares his personal story, and so much more. Book your tickets today, bootsonthegroundtx.com. See you in January.
The Supreme Court could overturn Roe v. Wade within weeks or even days. We have a bold, groundbreaking agenda for this historic moment. First, we need to enforce our laws and make sure liberal district attorneys don't give abortionists a free pass. Second, we need to expand the life-saving alternatives to abortion program. And third, we need to protect vulnerable hospital patients. Do you believe in this vision? Go to texasrighttolife.com/stand to donate now and save lives after Roe.
Oh, hello. Didn't see you there. Just hanging out with my friends. Kim Schwartz, Veronica Arnold-Smither. This is the most cheeseball moment. You may wonder why we're wearing construction equipment.
Are we? Oh my gosh.
I wear this every day.
Yes. And why? Because we're building a pro-life Texas.
We are. We are. This was the theme for our booth at the GOP convention here in Texas this last week. And we're not always just cheese. Well, we kind of are.
Yes. This is definitely the cheesiest thing I've ever done with y'all. No. It's pretty. I'm cringing so hard right now.
This is not cheesy enough. Okay, for our audio listeners, we are wearing hard hats that say "Build a Pro-Life Texas." Veronica and I are sporting some nice neon yellow vests. I have a photo booth prop that says "Dump Planned Parenthood," and it is a dump truck to go with our construction theme.
I like the backhoe here with "I Dig Life."
Yeah. Oh, no, that is an excavator, sir.
Sorry. Excavator.
My boys would correct you on that, too. I've got one that says Wreck Roe v. Wade. I like that one.
And it has a wrecking ball.
It's got a wrecking ball, like Miley Cyrus style.
Yes.
If you're watching the audio version, you're gonna have to hit the YouTube version, because...
This is, I don't think this is cheesy enough. So
I don't know. I'm pretty cheesed out. I'm going to take the vest off.
It's kind of silly. We're all going to have the helmet here.
I'm committed. So we have
the episode.
Last week was a very busy week for us. So while we're talking about
how's my hair?
Okay, it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
You're good.
Why are we having a summer of rage? It's because we are doing a phenomenal job at saving lives, and one of those is through the Republican Party of Texas platform. So, you have the Republican Party of Texas. It is a body that exists. And one of our priorities at Texas Right to Life is to make sure that the Republican Party of Texas platform is strongly pro-life, because those are the guiding principles of the state party. And so whenever we go and try to make laws, and our Republican lawmakers are asking, what is important to the Republican voters? Well, we have this platform that tells us what's important. So we have to make sure that we have strong pro-life planks in the platform. And then there's the legislative priorities, too, where the Republicans say, like, okay, among all these issues that are in the platform, these are our most important ones. And so we made some big progress in keeping the platform strong. We don't have results yet on the legislative priorities, but we made some good progress on getting strong language for the abolish abortion legislative priority and strong language for getting rid of the 10-day rule. And we've talked about that before on, I think it was episode 9 in the podcast.
Somewhere in there, yes. We can throw that in the description.
Yeah,
I'm having a hard time taking you seriously right now.
This is great. Like, puns are like my priority from this last week. So we had a booth at the Republican Party of Texas convention, this big old expo hall, and it was a construction theme because one of our priorities is building a pro-life Texas.
Yep.
After Roe v. Wade. And so thank you to everybody who came and stopped by our booth and donned one of these great hats like I am doing right now, visited us, talked to us about the priorities for what comes next after Roe v. Wade. And so that's one thing that we did last week with the Republican Party of Texas convention here in Houston. But at the same time,
so many things were going on last week. Yeah, so y'all were with like 8,000 of our closest friends, right?
Yes,
all week.
yes.
Yep.
I was with our brand new class of college students. So every year we bring in a new, fresh batch of college kids who are super pro-life and want training on bioethics and leadership skills and things like that. So this year we had our training in San Antonio. We move it around every year so that different people can come and visit and experience it for themselves. So we flew in students from all over though. Like we have people every year. We have some people from California. So we always like to tease them like, aren't you glad you're in Texas? And like, yeah. So they're all going to school here in Texas. In the fall, they're going to go join places like University of Dallas and Texas A&M and Trinity University and all these places. And so for an entire week, they're learning bioethics, science, history, politics, learning all about how to dialogue, marketing.
Yes.
Yeah, Kim came and gave marketing. Yeah, pointing to your hat.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, so they learn from our departments on how to run a pro-life group successfully, how to do really great events. And then every single day we practice dialogue. That's probably the thing that we emphasize the absolute most, because on campus, the main thing that the students are going to be doing is having a booth out on the quad or somewhere at a bus stop on campus, somewhere one of the high traffic areas, and with pamphlets and flyers and saying like, hey, when polling people, when do you think life begins? Or another great question they do for their polls is, when do you think abortion should be legal or illegal? And so they get strangers to come and answer the poll, and then that sparks a conversation. And so they'll say, like, we're out here representing our pro-life group. What's your opinion? And so we train the students to ask questions and help someone use the Socratic, or they use the Socratic method to help strangers realize what their own beliefs are. And sometimes just hearing their own beliefs out loud, the strangers will say, like, actually, yeah, I'm not really sure where I stand. And that is, again, another moment when our college pro-life students will say like, well, I represent this pro-life group. Can I tell you my opinion? Can I tell you about, the science of fetal development, things like that? So it's really awesome. It's such a fun week. And oh my gosh, it was so great this whole week. Everybody's on pins and needles waiting for Roe to be overturned. And and then at the same time, our social media was like loaded up with RPT stuff and the fellowship training. So that was really fun. Maybe next year I'll try not to have them be on the same week, but it was really cool that it was the same week.
Yeah.
I was really busy.
And at the same time, we're getting into a serious topic now, so I guess
okay, now you have to ditch all this, ditch the toys.
No, I'm sad because I really like...
I'm just going to leave mine right.
Yes, that's pretty epic.
Keep the logo straight.
Yeah. So anyways, at the same time as the Republican Party of Texas convention, at the same time as the fellowship training in San Antonio, we had 3 requests. We worked on 3 requests for patient advocacy. 2 of them were about brain death, and the other one I'm not quite sure because it came on Saturday. So Emily's not here. She's off, recouping and working on some of the stuff that's related to that case. So we had 3 different requests for patient advocacy and trying to minister to those families that are in that really life or death situation. But the big victory from last week is that a Republican flipped a Democrat district red for the first time in 100 years in that district. Republican Mayra Flores is kind of the superstar of the GOP right now.
Yeah. Elon posted, he tweeted Wednesday morning that he voted for Mayra Flores.
That's legit.
This is first time he ever voted Republican, and massive red wave coming in 2022.
You bet.
Wow.
So,
good job, Elon.
Yeah. So he's not pro-life yet. We've got to pray for him because Tesla is one of the companies that pays for women's abortion out of state.
Yep.
Yeah. So got to pray for Elon. He's getting there. We got to get there. But Mayra Flores, like what you were talking about, people have been asking her, why is there this shift among Hispanic communities now voting for Republicans instead of Democrats? And she said, there's not a Hispanic shift, that the communities on the border have always been pro-life, pro-family, have these very core values. And it's the Democratic Party that has shifted. The Democratic Party has gone so far left that the Hispanic voters are now saying, well, you don't represent us anymore. And so they voted for Mayra Flores. This was a special election for the sitting congressman for Texas 34th Congressional District. He retired, so this is to finish out the remainder of the term until January. So it's a big deal that Mayra Flores won this special election, but it's not like this is the end of the election cycle. This is going to foreshadow. This is the tip of the iceberg as we go into November. She's running for re-election now, I guess, in November for that same seat. We have a handful of seats in that area that we're going to focus heavily on. And that's one of the reasons why this district turned red, is because Republicans have seen that, we have a chance to be competitive in these communities now. And because the Democratic Party has always taken that vote for granted.
Yep.
And Mayra Flores said this herself. It's not that the Hispanic community has changed in their values. They've always been pro-life, pro-family, but voted Democrat on these other policies. But now the party has gone so far left, and the Democratic Party has taken advantage and taken for granted the Hispanic vote there, that they've ignored that area. They don't see it as a priority to reach out to those voters, but we do. We know that life is one of the foremost issues for that group. And so that's why we're getting involved heavily in the Valley for the election, because we know that this is our chance, that we can kick Nancy Pelosi out of the speaker seat and have this take advantage of the red wave that's coming in November.
Yeah, and she's not even the first person to flip a district. In recent years, Pete Flores did the same thing. And so it's like we are, it's not just a one-off. Like, there's so much hope here.
Yep.
There's a trend, an honest to gosh trend. And Texas Right to Life actually was one of the first organizations. That makes me really proud.
Yeah.
One of the first organizations to go into the Valley and instigate this, along with the voters who were saying, like, we want to vote Republican now. And so I can't wait to see who's next. And maybe you're in the Valley and you want to run for office, call our political director, and he will happily talk to you.
My mom told me she grew up an Illinois Democrat, and that was blue collar culture. That's the way everybody was. And then she moved out here and realized that the party had left her. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what we're seeing in the Valley, is everybody's kind of realizing, like, the party left me. I have these beliefs. I have what turned out to actually be conservative beliefs.
Yeah.
And the party I thought I was associated with has gone wackadoodle. And I mean, there's what else? The left is kooky dukes, guys. I mean, they are.
I love your words today.
So, I have small children, so the ocean is kooky dukes.
Yep. Truth.
So if you start voting your beliefs and not just a party line, you find that you vote pro-life, and
So one of the really cool things that is incorporated with our Valley outreach is that not just that, we are necessarily trying to change people's minds. We always are. But the easiest part of this job is we just have to point out what the voter believes and where the Democratic Party really is now and how far they've shifted. All we have to do is expose that. We don't have to convince them to believe that abortion is wrong. They already believe that. We just have to point it out. And so I'm really excited for November. It's going to be a shellacking for Joe Biden and the Democratic Party.
I thought you were going to say something else for a second.
Oh. No, we don't need the E on this podcast.
Very self-controlled of you.
Yes. It's going to be a shellacking, a beatdown of the Democrats in November because they're just losing touch with so many key groups, and the Hispanic vote in Texas is one of them.
They've alienated so much of America by calling normal people fringe. They've tried to act like what's really a normal belief in this country, fringe.
Yes.
And they're going to find out it's not so fringe.
Yep. It's true. So that's all the great stuff that we had happening last week.
One more thing. I saw Friday, Iowa Supreme Court decided that the state constitution does not protect abortion, does not give you a right to abortion.
Yeah.
Which reversed, I guess, a 2018 decision that it did at the time.
Yep.
So Iowa's governor was very proud of the Iowa Supreme Court. So good job, guys.
Nice.
Well done.
Yeah. South Dakota is abortion free. Their last abortion clinic stopped taking appointments and basically is shut down. So
Forgot
South
about that
Dakota.
one. We talked about that one too. There's a lot. It's been a busy week.
It's a good week, and this is the tip of the iceberg. So keep praying that the Supreme Court's going to overturn Roe v. Wade. Text pro-life to 40237 to get notified when it does. Anything else?
Come to all of our events, save the world. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
Talk to some friends. Make new friends. Build a pro-life Texas. Change hearts and minds. We have funny hats.
Build a pro-life Texas.
I roll.
Stop it.
It's going to be great.
Okay, that's about all the seriousness I can keep up with you guys. So I think we're going to have to wrap this show up. Until next week, guys. Yeah, text us. Get those updates when the Supreme Court decision drops. Until then, share this with your friends. Seriously, go out, be that light of the darkness, and change some hearts and minds, save some lives. We'll see you guys next week.